Hello?
Oh, just a minute. Launch meeting. Yeah. Good link. Oh, okay. We just, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
I just want to double check that we are recording.
Okay, we're not having video, right?
No.
Oh, okay.
You can open your camera if you want to, but it's not necessary, and we'll only keep the audio.
Okay.
But I can open the camera if you feel like seeing my face, because sometimes some people like to see each other's face when they're talking, but you don't have to open the camera, turn on the camera if it's convenient. It's inconvenient.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so before we start the interview, I just want to let you know that anytime during the interview, if you don't feel like answering a question, you can just let me know and I can move on to the next question, and afterwards we'll just edit that part out. So yeah, no worries or anything. Okay, let me double check that we are recording. Okay, so I will be starting now.
Okay.
Okay. So this is Daphne Cui on Zoom with Lavana from Renaissance Books. Hello, Lavana.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. So Lavana, what's your full name?
Lavana Labre.
Could you spell that for us?
Yes, my first name is Lavana, so it's L-A, V as in Victor, A-N-A. And then my last name is Labre. It's L-A space capital B-R-E-Y.
It's a very beautiful name. Does your last name have a special meaning?
No, it's just, no, just.
Is it French?
Yes, it is a French sound to it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So when were you born?
I was born in March 20th, 1950.
Okay. Where were you born?
I was born in Edmonton, Alberta.
Mm-hmm. Could you describe the town you grew up in?
I'm Métis, so my mother was a Métis woman, and my father was a white man. German, Polish, they called it. And yeah, so I have a large family. There was a total of 10 children.
Wow. Is there do you have any fond memories from your childhood, like with your siblings, with your parents, and so on?
Well, with my mom and dad, we had lived out in the country. We had, let's see, we had, well, we had our own baseball team, let's put it that way, because there was 10 children. But I had one sister pass away, and she passed away. So there's only 9 of us left now, so far.
Mm-hmm. So do you live on 12th Street, or do you just work there?
No, I live above our store, Renaissance Books.
Wow. So when did you move to 12th Street?
We've been here since 1997. Yeah, 1997. So we've been in this Renaissance Books business for 24 years, or going on 25 years.
Okay. Could you tell us a bit more about your business? What inspired you to start this business, and why did you go into this field of work?
Well, one of the things is that when John and I got together, and that would have been in 1996, and so he always, we went to Gibson's, and to Seashelt, and we walked in a used bookstore, and John said, "Oh, I've always wanted to own my own bookstore, and a used bookstore." And I said, "Oh," so that kind of stayed in my mind. And then one day, back in Vancouver, I worked downtown for the Hong Kong Bank, and downtown was at the Station Square down in, they had a business entrepreneurship where you can start a small business and you can do up a business plan. So I told John about it, and I said, well, I'm starting this business plan. So he came down and we started working on it, and that's how that became. And Van City loaned us $20,000 to get it started. And John and I built all our bookshelves. We had a book, how to open up a used bookstore. And so we followed the instructions on how to make the shelving, the sizes, and the best kind of wood to use. And so that's how we started. We started in August of 1997. And while John was building the shelves, he was open. I still worked at the Hong Kong Bank at the time. And then so he built, while he was building the shelf, one shelf at a time, he was open and selling books. So that was how that started.
Is John your partner?
John is my common law husband, yes.
Before I move to the next question, I just want to let you know that I will be limiting my verbal response for the purpose of this oral history, because people are going to listen, and I want them to focus on what you are talking about. So just know that you have my full attention, but I won't be saying things like wow or yes when
Okay.
you're talking. Okay.
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 So anyway, so then September of 1997, we opened up, we were officially opened the Renaissance Bookstore. We got the name and we paid for it. We had our business plan done up properly, and our marketing strategy program, and we started selling used bookstore on 12th Street. And at that time we were between 8th and 9th on 12th Street, just up the street from where we are now. We have moved 4 times, but during that time, the first year, we did Renaissance Books, and then I ended working at the Hong Kong Bank, and I had a contract job working for an insurance company for about a year. And then during that time, then once I was working at the insurance company for maternity leave. And then once that was done, then I went and I did to BCIT to open up right beside Renaissance Books. We opened the doorway, and we got a permit. And so we had one big store, and I called our little other side of the store, Bookend Espresso Cafe. And I made, I had set it up for a 3-grouper espresso machine. And we had the bookstore on one side, and we had the other side, we had a bistro. Plus we sold art books and romance. I put that on that side. So we did that for about a good 7 years. And then, we had to shut down for that. So we moved to a smaller location because John felt that the bistro wasn't very viable at the time, he thought. But then when we downsized, then he realized, oh yes, that bistro did add a feature to a used bookstore. So then we were in the other location for another 5 years. So a grand total of 12 years we were on 12th Street at that time. Then we moved to 6th Street, and it was called the second level hobby store, and it shut down. So we took that over. We built all the shelves, and it was a bigger store. We had basement, and we had a lot of storage. And so we were doing that for another good 7 years. But I tried to do another bistro, but it didn't have enough proper wiring. It was an older building. It was over 100 years old. So we had to do 220 wiring. So I got one of these Swiss portable espresso machines, and we just served some buns and some refreshments, and I made coffees, and that was it. And there was just a small section in the Renaissance bookstore that we were on 6th Street, and we sold a lot of books. And at that time, we had enough space in the front where we did poetry readings and book launches, and plus we did some music concerts, just a small, intimate, I used to call it in-house concerts. And that went very well. We were well known for doing that for a good 7 years. And then after that, we then had to downsize again, and we moved to this location here on 12th Street. We came back to 12th Street due to the rents and whatever was going on. Because the other place, they were starting to do a lot of renovations on 6th Street. And we thought we best move at the time, because I had a feeling they would probably knock down the building that we were in. And it was, it's an older building, and it didn't have the facilities. So we thought our lease was up, so we decided to move back to 12th Street. And we've been here since, we'll be in 5 years, January 2022. No, actually, it's 7 years now. Oh, God, how time flies. But we just strictly did books this time. And so we're the only bookstore here in used bookstore in New Westminster. There used to be about 4 when we first started, and that was in 1997. And now we're the only ones in New Westminster, except for the thrift stores that sell used books, and that we kind of specialize in. And John, he's a book scout. He goes out there and he hunts down these really good books. And that's why we're noted for having always these good books that people are always sought after for, especially classics and fantasy and fiction books. And we have history, and we have actually all the genres. We have religion, we have history, we have science, and we have wellness, and we have religion. I said religion, yes. So yeah, so we kind of, even though our store is a lot smaller, but when we moved from 6th Street, it was a move from hell, I'll tell you, because I couldn't believe how many books we had in that when we had to be out of that space, and we accumulated so many books, it was just unbelievable. So then anyway, so when we downsized, and we found out there's no storage here, so we have boxes of books in our store, but which is okay, and people get to thumb through all the books, and it's always a nice surprise when we find, there's another surprise book. And I never get tired of seeing books, and I have a thing about even going into bookstores still. Because there are so many varieties and so much knowledge and so much entertainment. Books are one of the best things that you could ever give yourself, because books have been around for centuries. I know over a period of time, whenever during dictatorship, whatever, they try to destroy books, because when they don't understand that when you have knowledge, and a lot of dictators or people who get in power don't want you to know the knowledge, so they have book burnings, but they never could really get rid of books and all that knowledge. Knowledge is power. We believe that. There's so much information that people have shared and wrote books and history and self-help, and so books are the best friend you could ever have. They entertain you. They make you well. They've got the ways of healing and knowledge. So knowledge is power, and that's why books is very valuable. And we did have a bit of a slump about when the internet came in and the ebooks. But what we're finding is people are coming back to the book because they like the feel of it. It has a warm feel to it. It feels like it's a friend. And so whereas the ebooks, sometimes they lose a book and they can't find they have to scroll down. Whereas in a book, you can go back to your pages, go back forth, and the pages are there. And in a used bookstore, it has a lot of energy because they've gone to different houses and different people, and then we end up getting them in our bookstore. And there's a lot of people have passions for hunting down that special rare book. So there's a lot of collectors, and there's a lot of people that really enjoy books. So in other words, ebooks, it's okay to have the best of both worlds, but everybody loves to have the feel of a real book. So that's what we've been finding out, and so yeah, so that's what's been going on in our life. And we're planning on, and then even during COVID, that when that happened, we didn't shut down. We stayed open. We found we were essential because people needed, because a lot of people were stuck at home. So they would come and they would buy stacks of books, and that I think saved their sanity. Being confined in the lockdowns, and we were more than willing to oblige people by selling them our books. So that's how we find that books are a very important, essential thing in our world. And it's important to have them around us. Like they comfort you, they entertain you, they take you places, and especially if you've never been able to travel or anything, well, you can just read about where these authors that write about these travel logs, and people that have written about history. So yes, books are very, very important. And I don't think they'll ever get rid of them. And if they do in the future, I did do where Renaissance, we thought, well, maybe this is it, but, and that's why we're the only bookstore here, because a lot of bookstores have shut down. And the reason why it worked very well for us is that both John and I have a love for books, and we both did the business. So whereas other gentlemen and their wife couldn't understand why they would spend so much time in their bookstores, well, it's a full-time job. But I don't seem to mind it, and neither does John. We seem to have a love for it, and we're constantly reading. Right now, I'm in the political realms of understanding our that and art. So I'm into that as well. So we have a really, it's a good life. And then now we're living above our store, which is kind of unique to have that experience. And so, yeah, and 12th Street is the reason why we're here is because right now that 12th Street is more economical for rent. When you're, it all depends. They always say location, but we find that we're a destination. People will find you because people who love books and want to read books, they'll come. We have people come from Vancouver. We have, and especially when people are during holidays, we have people from across Canada. We've even had people come from the United States and even Germany. And then also too, when kids are coming from Korea and China and all that, they come to our bookstore to get English books. And we do have a few international books that in German or Spanish or French. And so it's just a small selection, but yeah, so that's pretty much what we're doing right now. And like I said, we've been in it for going on 25 years, and yeah.
It's all so fascinating. And what you said about knowledge is power and loving books. As a fellow book lover, I cannot agree more.
Yeah.
So, why did you name the store Renaissance Books?
Well, Renaissance, the book, I have a thing about numerology, and I wanted to make sure that the name that we have was a very solid name. But John loved the Renaissance books. So it's what Renaissance means. You can also go back to antiquarian style books. We used to have quite a few of them, but now we've got maybe one shelf, but we still have antiquarian. So it's sort of like the Renaissance. Renaissance is the past. It's a time where books were and authors wrote. They had time to write. And so the classics are very still really well sought after, like Dickens and the old classic philosophers like Aristotle and all of them that have wrote in those times, and during the French Revolution and all the history back then. So that's where Renaissance came from. It's based on it's based on the past, but it's also the present and it's also the future. Renaissance. It's just a name of ages. Yeah.
So you said about hosting like book launches in your old store, and what books have you what book launches have you hosted?
Well, we have local authors. There's the Royal City Library of Arts, that's in New Westminster. And so a lot of them are poets and a lot of them are authors. So what we do is we'll put their books on consignment and we take 20%. So the only thing is that it is hard to sell their books because people, when they come to our store, are looking for used books and not new books. So these authors, these books that come in on consignment are new books, but they're local authors, and we just support them. So so when they bring a book in, we do a book launch and present their book, and that's what a lot of authors do. They'll go to all the different bookstores and they'll do a book launch which introduces them as the author and their book, and they give a talk and they explain what their book is about. So that's what a book launch is. So we carry maybe 3 of their books, each author, and they let other people know that if they want to buy our books, instead of buying them online, they can come to Renaissance Books to buy their books. Yeah.
Great. So I want to ask, what's a typical day like for your business at Renaissance Books?
Oh, okay. Well, we open up at 9:30. And we also sell books online, eBay. We mostly did eBay. We did one time do Abe books, but we did stick with eBay auctions. And the reason why we do that is because if we find a rare kind of book, then we put it online and we do a 7-day turnaround where people can bid on the book. And yeah, so that's one thing we do. And we usually sell to the United States, mostly there. And then the other thing that we do is that during the day, we're open from 9:30 to 6:30, and the reason why we do that is so that people who are coming home from work, they can still stop at the bookstore. And okay, and then so we stay open till then. We're open 7 days a week, and John and I, we trade off. And probably the reason why it works really well between for him and I is because we have separate holidays. And so he'll take off for a couple of weeks and then come back and he's feeling refreshed, and then I get to go. So it's on a rare occasion that we both go on a holiday together. And but we work together day in and day out. So it is nice to have that separation. And yeah, so that's why it's been working very well for us. And during the day, we have people come in and we put the books on the shelf. A lot of people think we have a database, but we don't. We're still old-fashioned. We just put the books on by genre, and then if it's like the fiction and the fantasy and the classics, we all put them by author. Our other bookshelves, like they're small or they're like self-help, we have them by author. But other little sections, we just put them in by genre, like philosophy, we put them in one section, religion in another section, and self-help, no, not self-help, metaphysics is another one, and spirituality is in another section. So yeah, so then we put them on the shelf, and over a period of time, we've had work experience. People come in, and we usually get them to shelve our books and put them by in alphabetical order by author. So that's that's how we do it, and that's the way we've always done it. We don't put it on a database because it's just me and John. It's sort of a pop and mom shop. When we were on 12th Street up further, when I had the bistro, I did hire one employee, and that was the only time we ever had an employee. The rest of it's usually been work experience because some people wanted to learn about being a librarian or wanted to work in a used bookstore or just a bookstore like Chapters. So we would get work experience students to come in and see what it's like to work with books.
Okay, so they are like volunteers or interns, right?
That's right.
Okay. So do you have any interesting stories during your time working at Renaissance Books?
The only thing that I am interested at this point, John is his genre is mostly the fantasy and science fiction, fantasy, and plus all kinds of books he reads. Mine is more in the political realm and arts, and I do read the trade paperback like authors like Husseini and Rowan Ministry and Diane, and I read Diane Gabaldon's series, and so I like historical novels, and I also like learning about the political realm, which I wasn't too much interested in when I was a young girl, but I do remember when I was 14 years old, I wanted to I read the Rise and Fall of the Third Reich, and that's a really thick book, but I had to know why that happened, and I was 14 at the time, because when at our age, during that time, we used to have the film reels in our school, and they showed us the Holocaust, and I was just horrified at what happened. So that's where my interest lies. I want to understand the political realm of societies and why people do what they do, and yeah, so that's mostly social and history and arts, and the arts is my favorite. Yeah.
Do you have any like anecdotes about like interacting with your customers? Like, do you have regulars? Do you like get to know them, become friends?
Yep, you betcha. It's like when John and I, it's just like people come to visit our house, and some of them we become real good friends, and we have chatting, and some people come in and I feel like and they're having troubles, and I find a good book for them in self-help. So yeah, we pretty much it's like an open house, and people come to visit us, and pretty soon they become regulars, and then we become we get to know them, and yeah, that's how it's been over the years. Yeah, we have lots of friends, lots of acquaintances, and some become more acquainted, and some are just flying by our bookstore, or yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, it's like having your own house, and a lot of guests come to visit, and we talk about the books and different authors, different subjects, and yeah, that's pretty much the way it is. Yeah.
It sounds wonderful. Can you tell us a bit more about your favorite book or author?
I'm sorry?
Your favorite book or author?
Oh, my favorite book? Oh, okay. So my favorite author I did do Atwood, Margaret Atwood. I read a few of her books. I'm not sure if she's my favorite. I shouldn't say. It's just some of their endings aren't too good. And I read Rohan Ministry, liked his book, The Fine Balance, and Husseini. I liked his books because they're very historical, and you can learn about some of the cultures in different, especially in the Middle East. And so those are the ones that I read. And then who else have I read that I really like? Well, Diana Gabaldon, I read all. I guess she's one of my favorites. It was kind of an unusual genre, but I was very. She was a good writer and was able to keep my interest. And I found that I wasn't the only one. A lot of other people felt the same way with her writings. And I've read also, I'm not too much in the mysteries, but mostly the general fiction or historical fiction. When I was younger, I used to read the romance, but I don't read them now. But I'm also into oh, and I used to read a lot of self-help. So Napoleon Hill would have been one of my favorites uh, in the self-help when I was a younger girl. And when you're ready to learn about life, the teachers appear from all over the place. And that means through books, authors. So when I started reading Napoleon Hill, I went to Covey and I went to read all of them. Let's see who else. Oh, and Norman Vincent Peale. I was really into that. And then I did read a bit of Dyer, but I also like Shaki Khan. I used to carry her books around. She was my favorite. And then when the Celestian Prophecy came out, I really that was because, like I said, that was when I was searching for knowledge. And so the Celestian Prophecy in the spiritual realm would give you a good start. It's a beginner's stepping stone into spirituality. So that's our self-help or the law of attraction, knowing that what you think and how you feel is sort of the law of attraction, why you attract things that why are you feeling depressed, why are you feeling all these kind of things. So when I was growing up in those years, I didn't understand why the feelings. So those books were very, very beneficial to my growth when I was younger. And so when people come into my store and they're having troubles, I know exactly what books for them to read. And they're truly grateful, especially if they're, when you are open to making changes in your life, that's when a lot of things will come your way to get you to the right, on your journey. Because I believe that when we're ready, this here is our school of life, and we have to learn how to be good people, or how to live, how to survive in this world here, and with the way, because we have to deal with lots of people, right? And being a human is very difficult. That's what I find. I always say that, being human, because you never know what kind of mood you're going to be in when you wake up in the morning. And so you have to live every day, every moment. And so the past, what experiences you've had in the past is your teacher. You live for the moment, because so many things can happen in a second, in a moment, a minute, whatever, and your whole day. And you set goals for yourself. So when you have visions of what you would like your life to be, then yes, that's what you reach your goals for that. Especially when you're young, you go to school, you get your education, then you want to go into for a career. And so that's pretty much what I did. I went, because we were a large family, schooling wasn't the priority, because so I was a late bloomer. I went back to school when I left home, and got married, didn't work out. So that's when I went back to school, and then I was going and went to college. So I was a late bloomer, but it's never too late to learn about life in general. So in my the way I believe is that we're still learning till the day we die, because we have to learn how to die. So that, and then who knows what's after that. I mean, there's lots of books about reincarnation. There's books based on afterlife, what happens. And one of the things that we're finding out is that everybody's always striving for immortality, but the Shangri-La, the good life. And right now, there's a lot of the elites right now are trying to, this book called Brave New World, Huxley. We've been selling a lot of them. Huxley is the utopian way of life. And then there was George Orwell, who wrote about 1984. We've been really selling a lot of that, because people are seeing that our world is changing, and we are going through the fourth revolution. We had our third revolution, and now we're going into also the age of Aquarius. So things are changing in our world, and it's not just here, it's worldwide. So what we're finding is a lot of people are now searching for that knowledge, because all of a sudden 1984, which was written in 1984, well, I think it was in 1969, I forget when it was wrote. But anyway, he wrote futuristically 1984, which is sort of happening now. And so a lot of people were wanting that book, and same with Animal Farm and Anne Rand, and all of these books that were written years ago are coming to what the future is now. They were written back in those times, and it didn't see that they were written for a future, because at that time they weren't ready for that kind of knowledge, but now they are. So we find that those books are very beneficial and very popular right now. So that's what's going on here. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Is there a book that you carry at Renaissance Books that you would recommend everyone to try out?
Oh yeah. Like I said, 1984 right now, and Animal Farm from George Orwell. I would probably say that would be a good read right now, because then you would have a better understanding of why our world is the way it is right now. Why we had COVID, why they are using COVID as a opportunity to bring in the fourth revolution, fourth industrial revolution, which is more for um, artificial intelligence, robotics, and yeah, so that's what our future is going into. And so a lot of people are coming in for books like that, and a lot of them are coming in for spiritual and what is another one? So which one I would recommend? I would recommend also the book of Law of Attraction. So The Secret, or getting into, let's see, what's this other guy's name? I forget at the moment, it's off the tip of my head. Yeah, so right now people have to be very strong. We're going through a change, and a lot of our books right now are being sought after, and especially on science. We've been selling a lot of science, and then a lot of people are going back into why the World War I happened, why did World War II happen, and what kind of yeah, so those are the books that we're selling. There's various authors that on the tip of my head I don't have, except for George Orwell. And a lot of the another books that we're selling that we've been noticing is the communists like Lenin and Marxism. We've been selling a lot of those to the young people because they want to know, because they're trying, they're thinking that capitalism is out the door, and they're bringing in communism or socialism or totalitarianism. So a lot of them are buying books on based on that. So yeah, so a lot of them are wanting to know about the knowledge on that. So that's what's going on. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so usually we would ask business owners to talk about their employees, but since it's just you and your husband at Renaissance Books, could you tell us a bit more about John?
About John?
Mm-hmm.
John is a very intellectual person, and he's very quiet, but he also is very observant. He loves to read. He's a voracious reader. He's constantly reading any kind of book. And if you ask him anything, he pretty much knows which book. He can even talk about a character, and he would know which book, because he reads a lot of those kind of books. His genre is is science fiction and fantasy, but there's always the moral of the stories. In fantasy, there's always a moral of how to behave as a human being, and in science fiction, it's futuristic. So those books are really popular. Another one is the thrillers. Would be the ones. Oh, which one is he reading about? He read Connolly and Lee Childs. So those are more thrillers. So he's been reading a lot of those. He reads voraciously, and he knows his books. When he's out there scouting, he scouts every day, and makes house calls. He'll go to people's houses when they have lots of books that they have to get rid of, And then John also will know where to take those books that we can't use. We take them and we also donate as well to other places. So John pretty much helps people out with all their books. So he does house calls. He scouts around to all the thrift stores and all to the on garage sales. So when people are, he will look on the internet and see what garage sales are going to be good for him to go. And he goes all over Coquitlam, Delta, Vancouver, New West, and even into Mission. No, I don't think he's gone that far. Oh, yeah. And then when he goes on holidays, he always stops at a thrift store and looks for books all on his journey.
So during the pandemic, has it make it more difficult for you to source books or find books?
No, in fact, it's been a really good source because a lot of people are leaving. So a lot of times people will call, or they're downsizing, or somebody's passed away, the elderly, a lot of the folks. So John would go to the house. No, we did really well with books. Yeah, this was it was very beneficial and essential for us for during COVID.
Okay, thank you. I just have one more last question. In what ways does Renaissance Books represent you as a person, or I guess how does your personality becomes infused with your business?
Oh well, it's just became part of my life, and books have been a comfort to me. I don't know. It's just I can't seem to have enough books around me. Even got books around me right now, and I'm upstairs. That books all over the place. But yeah, they're just there. It's just been a great journey, and I'm so glad that we got into it. I have no regrets. It was one of the best things that ever happened to my life is getting into being a used book entrepreneur. I didn't know the knowledge and the wealth of knowledge. It's just unbelievable. And the things that I've learned over the years. When I first started in a bookstore, I had no idea, but now I have so much knowledge in my brain right now about people, about countries, about life, about spirituality. I have, it's just has grown. I can't, I have no regrets of ever not doing this. And John is the same way. It's just the most wonderful job that I could ever have gotten myself into. It was just the best thing since sliced bread. I have no regrets.
Thank you. I'm going to pause